Topic of the week. It's coming up is for myself, for others, friends, family, colleagues have been talking about is clear communication. Clear communication. And I would really say like one of them is conflict, but also clear communication in, what you do and what the value you provide and how this is one of the most money-making skills that we can have to clearly communicate our value and what we do, whether it's at any level, business owner, employee, anything in between. Clear communication of the problem, the solution, and how we are the bridge is everything. Because without that, then people don't understand. We're not able to be heard. That's what it is. We're not able to be heard. And that's a shitty place to be. I can say from experience, because it's like I felt like, I've had like this value and I can help and do these certain things, but it's just, it's not getting across. It's not being heard. And in a mastermind group, what came up this week again was, not again, but it's like this old adage I'd first heard from, I think, Brendon Burchard, the expert's curse. Like when we are an expert in something, we know it so deeply, we know it vertically, horizontally, everything in between. And so when somebody asks us a question, it's like, oh, what do you do? It's just like, it can be just like a lock at times of like, whoa, where do I start from? So yeah, that's why Brendon Burchard calls it the expert's curse, because it's like, in order to feel that block, we've got to know a lot about a topic, especially if it's our passion. But then how do we look at that with beginner's eyes to clearly communicate? And it takes practice. It's a skill. It's a skill. And there's different levels of the skill, just like with any other skill. So honing this. And so that, one example is instead of just being like, what do you do? And this, boom, it's just diarrhea, all this different stuff that a person can't connect to. Or on the opposite, just being like, clamming up and shrinking down. How do we find that? And so that came up. Another one came up is really the conflict part. I was in a situation where a person was out of integrity, like for a long, long time. It's like, I was asking for clarity on a certain piece, very, very important piece, very, very important piece. And just, got a little answer here, got a little answer there, but never really got the full answer. And let it go over multiple times, or gave them the opportunity to figure it out over multiple times, and they didn't. And it reached a point where it's like, okay, I've got to drill forward through all this obscurity, through all these questions, through all these vague, I don't know what the word is, but when you ask somebody something, they just kind of like deflect, or it's like, oh, well, we'll get to it tomorrow, or maybe I'll check tomorrow, or I don't know. And maybe that's okay for a few times, give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's just not happening. And so I was in a situation where I was just like, fuck it, I got to go. And my challenge with that was, in the past, like when I think of my early 20s, that would be bringing out the destroyer energy. It's like, all right, I'm going to burn everything in my path until I get the objective. So the challenge for me was like, okay, how to stand strong and not be a doormat, but how I don't want to bring that energy out if I can help not to, because that's going to destroy anything that it touches. And conversely, on the other side, how do I speak strongly and clearly that cuts through the bullshit that was going on? Because if I didn't do that, the bullshit was going to continue, like for sure. So that's the situation I was in. And so it was another example of clear communication. And so, yeah, I'm still finding that path here. And going a little mini, dive into this really quickly. In the book Iron John, which is a book for men, I think it says it on it, but women get a lot of value from it too, reading it. But it's the journey through manhood. And one of the things that it talks about is, basically having this beast, this dragon inside, that can come out and destroy. And so what happens, say if the person who, cares about others, likes people, those type of things, all of a sudden that comes out a few times and it's just like, whoa, boom. In the soul contract, we call this the nines energy, that personifies it the most. So the dragon comes out and it's like, holy shit, you're looking at like all the, the burned, scorched earth. And it's just like, whoa, I gotta put that away. I gotta lock that away. But then what happens is the person becomes a doormat, until something comes on and just like, and then just shreds. So the process and the analogy in that book was essentially bringing it out of the cage and befriending and being at peace, being comfortable with it, so that beast, that dragon, walks with you, and you're in control, you're in charge. And so it's not shrinking that part of yourself, but it's also not just letting it, run loose. And so that was the scenario where I was in, where I'm like, okay, this is insanely disrespectful to me on so many levels. It's not okay. And I'm going to be really fucking clear, and I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to also do everything I can to be as respectful as possible. Like I've been disrespected, so I'm going to match this with respect, but there's going to be strength, unwavering strength with this. And at that point, I was not taking no for an answer. It was, we're going to figure this out one way or another, and I'm not leaving until we figure this out. So with this theme of clear communication in conflict or in value, how are we centered in ourself? And how do we speak what needs to be said? Less is more in this case. Less is more. We all know the old Western or the old movie where there's the, what it is, it's like the elder man, elder woman, but they say a line and that's it. They say a few words and that's it. And everybody can feel. Everybody can feel. So what we'll do today in the flow state experience, in the subconscious release, is to release resistance that's holding us back from clear communication. Overthinking, buzzing around. It's really, overthinking. Overthinking comes in many forms. What do I even answer this with? Number one. Number two, am I going to say it the right way? Are they going to like me? This or that? Or number three, some version of that. So clear away any resistance, clear any of that fog. And what I realized in this experience is like, yeah, there's just a certain interaction. Well, this is. There was something that I had from growing up that always had me overthinking, did I say it the right way? If I would have said it differently, would have been there different, would I have been heard? If I said it differently, would I have been heard? But in that time, it was just like what I experienced this week. The other side, the people were in their bullshit and they weren't confronting what needed to be, they weren't doing their job. Like, there's a job description, there's a role description. They weren't doing their job, like what's on their plate for their role. So overthinking, well, hey, basically taking on that role for myself and trying to do the perfect communication to be heard, when really it wasn't the communication, it was the energy. So we'll clear away any resistance for that, and we'll clear away any of the emotional stuff, whatever it is, holding us back, fear of not being liked, fear of being too much, fear of them saying something back. And then especially too, it depends, it's like, I want to go from this two sides. So at one point it's an integrity thing, so it's just like, if that person's out of integrity, it's just like, you have the high ground, as they say. And on the other side, when it's our passion, communicating our value, it's like, sinking into that. This is who we are. It's what we're here to do, and not everybody's going to vibe with it, and that's okay. Yet our core isn't changing.